We just concluded the meeting, and you probably have heard. We had what was generally with committee meetings 3 days of, I would say, really productive discussions. The theme probably goes back to sort of what we shared with the ownership in the initial sessions, which is the important position that we're in now and the ability for us to continue to focus on meeting our challenges, but also taking advantage of our opportunities because of the stability we have, because of where the game is. This is a great opportunity for the NFL to step on the gas and continue to make progress and really try to take our game to another level on a global basis, as well as we heard from a number of our partners, new partners, Skydance, YouTube, that we're here to talk about what we think are really innovative, exciting partnerships that are going to, I believe, and I think our ownership and our clubs do, think we're going to take us to another level. So we're really excited about where we are, but lots more work to be done. So I know you've gotten updates from a lot of people, so I'll just take your questions.
Let's begin here with Judy.
I can hear you.
Hi, Roger. On the way out of the meeting, John Mara said he was adamantly opposed to the idea of flexing Thursday night games. He called the idea abusive and made a plea to consider the fans who go to the games. And he said, I mean, what are we thinking about? What is your feeling on flexing Thursday night games? And I know it's going to come up again in May, so where do you think it's headed?
Well, we'll see. Listen, there isn't anybody in that room, anybody in any of our organizations who don't put our fans first. That's really important. Obviously, providing the best matchups for our fans is part of what we do. That's part of what I think our scheduling has always focused on. And Flex has been a part of that. We are very judicious with it, and we're very careful with it. And we look at all of the impacts to that. And so before those decisions are made, I think we average, in the years we've been doing it, about a flex and a half a year. It can vary any particular year. So it's a very important thing for us to balance with the, what I would call season ticket holders and the in-stadium audience, but we have millions of fans who also watch on television. And so reaching them is a balance that you always strike and making sure we do it right.
Go here front, Mark Maskey.
Roger, what was the extent of discussions at this meeting on Daniel Snyder's situation and the Commander's sale? And what do you expect the next steps to be, both on the sale and the Mary Jo White report?
Well, both are ongoing. We did briefly report on both of those. They're both ongoing processes. The Washington Commanders are obviously the ones conducting the process on the sale. When there's a transaction, they will notify us, and we will proceed on that one. And Mary Jo White, we gave a brief update that she's in the middle of her process, and when she concludes that, we will also brief the ownership as well as make the findings public.
Let's go to the back, Albert Brewer.
Yeah, Roger, your players have been...
I don't know where you are.
Right here.
Yep.
Your players have been pretty consistently critical of Thursday Night Football and, outspoken in the way they feel after some of those games. And the Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes, reacted negatively to the idea of having to play 2 Thursday night games in one season. And now you're talking about flexing games in and everything else. How would you respond to players who are concerned that maybe you're putting a broadcast partner on Amazon over their own interests in making some of these changes to Thursday Night Football?
I don't think we are putting Amazon over players' interests. We've always been looking at the data with respect to injuries and the impact on players. That drove our decisions throughout the first 12 or so years of Thursday Night Football and how it's evolved. And I think we have data that's very clear. It doesn't show a higher injury rate. But we recognize shorter weeks. We went through this in COVID too. We had to have a lot of flexibility in those areas. So those are obviously different circumstances. But we work very closely on that. I hear from a lot of players directly too. They love the 10 days afterwards. In fact, they call it a mini-buy. And so there's some benefits on that side. So you have different views. You want to consider all of them, but players have different views, coaches have different views, and we have to try to balance all of that.
Sal, back center.
Hi, Roger. Sal Capaccio, WGR in Buffalo.
Hey,
Last year, the Bills and the Chiefs almost played an AFC Championship game at a neutral site because of the inequity in games played. Out of that came some talk that maybe the league would eventually want to do that, have the conference championship games played at a neutral site. Is that something the league is looking at going forward?
we have not looked at that. I've not heard that as a proposal either internally or from our clubs.
Thank you.
Caitlin, The Athletic.
Hey, Roger. The NFLPA released 32 team report cards a few weeks ago where they surveyed 1,300 players across the league about the working conditions at their clubs. What was your reaction to those report cards, and what takeaways did you learn from going through those?
I didn't go through those. I talked to Dee about it. He told me the day it came out, I think. So I haven't seen it in detail. I've seen some summaries of that. But, you know, in the collective bargaining process, we agreed to consider different scientific approaches to getting the players' input on different things that we want to approach. We always look to hear the players' input, and I'm sure the clubs look at that and they'll decide if there are things that they're either interested in doing or whether they already had some plans on board that they think are the better approach. But I think player input's always a good thing.
What's your reasoning of not reading at all?
On the what?
What's your reasoning of not reading at all?
I didn't say. I said I saw the summary. I didn't have time to read all through the entire summaries. I haven't seen them all.
Darren, DC.
Roger.
Yeah.
Darren Haynes, WSA 9 in Washington, D.C. The Commanders are going through the process of a sale. Do you still believe and support that the Mary Jo White report should still be released if Dan Snyder is the owner or not?
Yes, we committed to releasing the findings. We will.
And then a follow-up. Not too long ago, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones says that he agrees to release the report because, quote, he knows everything in the report. Do you know why he would say that?
What's he referring to? I'm sorry.
To the Mary Jo White report, that he believes that they should release the report, and then we asked why. He says because I know everything in the report.
Well, that would be impossible, since the only person I know of that knows anything about the investigation is Mary Jo White and her counterparts. So I don't know any of those things. Mary Jo White is a professional. She's incredibly thorough. She's not giving access to anybody. So I'm comfortable on that point.
John Jones. Jonathan.
Thanks. Hey, Roger.
Hey.
You were talking about stepping on the gas, taking things to the next level. Obviously, the league's relationship with sports gambling continues to grow. More discussions here this week. How would you describe the depth and the health of that relationship today, and how do you view it can grow more in the next year, 2, 3?
Are you specifically talking about legalized sports betting, or are you talking about broader? Just so I'm clear, I don't.
Legalized sports betting, yes.
On legalized sports betting?
Correct.
Listen, I think we've been very measured in our approach. As you know, we're responding to changes that were made in our country and in the laws. And we obviously are being very consistent with that. But we've, from day one, also said that we want to be very cautious in protecting the integrity of our game. I mean, ultimately making sure that that's done correctly, and that our fans have confidence in that, and our partners have confidence in that. But it clearly, for an element of the population, is something they're interested in doing. We want to make sure that whatever is done properly, effectively, and safeguards the game.
Pat from Chicago.
Our Josina Anderson is there in the crowd with Commissioner Goodell, and her report is coming up later this evening on CBS Sports HQ. In the meantime, a couple of broadcast highlights coming up with the National Football League and their spring and summer schedule. The draft a month from right now will be right in the middle of the NFL draft. It's taking place in Kansas City, and the NFL schedule release show will also take place sometime in May.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.